There is no way in hell I could pay $50,000 just to hear somebody tell me things are going to get better. Come up with a plan. Here's a template. No way. No way. We're the Impact League. We're coming after you. We're coming for you. If you're in business and you're serious about your craft, relinquish all those other memberships and get into the league. Listen, you guys are in for a treat. I am so grateful to be here. I'm Twyla Garrett. I'm the host and the founder of the Impact League, and this is the Impact Podcast. Today is really special because we're about to just chill and we're going to talk about actually living your best daggone life and how do you move into living your best life. I got a doctor, a sister, a dentist here today that's going to talk about no matter what age, race, creed, whatever, no matter how you actually go into a longevity circle. What does it mean? How do you start preparing for that next phase as you transition from working every day to maybe working part-time to maybe finally doing what is retirement, right? Because retirement means so much things and different things to everybody. And so Dr. Beckford's going to share some light. She's in the process of actually opening up a new company called the Longevity Circle. You guys definitely got to check out her Facebook. She's going to give you all of her handles, Instagram, website. But she's going to be having some amazing type of resort retreats and mental wellness clinics. And we both are pet lovers, specifically doggy lovers. And for those dog lovers out there, y'all going to have something. Y'all going to have a treat because she's got something planned for her baby, Coco. And she definitely is going to have something planned for your baby. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Dr. Yvonne Beckford. You have seen her. She's had a couple podcasts with us. We did one on implants and we did one on sleep apnea. She is a expert, comprehensive dentist out of Atlanta area. And now we're about to talk about something fun. So, Dr. Beckford, welcome to the show today. It's good to see you again. More importantly, let's just talk about what does longevity circle, what was it created to do?
Well, it's really to refocus on what retirement is.
Okay.
Retirement is very much an American concept. In other countries, you don't retire. You just pivot. You kind of like in Africa, Asia, Latin America, folks live to be 100, 90.
It's true.
Years old, and no one thinks twice about it. They keep gardens, they mentor, they socialize, they move naturally. It's an industrial age kind of concept. Retirement is kind of like Social Security came into effect in 1935. Corporations wanted predictable employee turnover. The idea of work hard and rest later, And interesting, in these countries, you don't hear much about dementia and all these other things. It may happen, but you don't hear about it in the same way that we hear it here because they constantly are living with purpose. So longevity is not just scientist support. You need to have a space where you can ask real questions without judgment, share health wins, struggles, breakthroughs, connect with like-minded individuals who are aging well, feel seen and supported. Ageism, I don't care what isms you have, sexism, racism, who knows, gayism. I don't know, is it gay? Homophobia, gayism. Anyway, but ageism.
Homophobia.
Homophobia, I'm going gayism. Anyway, but ageism is becoming prevalent. It's like
it is.
It's inappropriate in a lot of ways, and it's dismissing, that your life's work and that you no longer have purpose. Life is seasons. You're in your autumn. There's you ski in the winter. You're not it's winter, so everybody just hibernates and does nothing. You ice skate. There's a whole Winter Olympics. So I want to help contribute to the focus of being over 40 is just it's a second act. There's many acts to this play because, we're going to be asleep for a very long time. So living with purpose, stress management, health issues that we may have being over 40, and just prioritizing and having people who like-minded that not just to just lay back and, okay, I'm retired, so let me just...
I love it. So you're creating a space for everyone that's going to be moving into that next phase.
Sure.
To have more purpose, right?
It's have more purpose,
More
Second, sure,
intentionality. Yeah.
sure. Second act entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so you
Bring-
know that's me. I
Yeah.
know for a fact, and I know whoever ends up marrying me has to know that I will probably never hang up my entrepreneurial
And you
mindset.
shouldn't. And you shouldn't.
And I will, if I'm over in Jamaica, which I probably wouldn't be, but if I'm over in somebody's
Hmm.
island, I'm sure there's gonna be a little tiki bar with Twilight stuff in it, or I'm selling it
Exactly.
or opening it, cause or I love food. I love food. I mean, right
Hmm.
now, if I had my little dream, I would get me a food truck and a rib shack on wheels and do my thing with a nice little bar.
Exactly.
I just love to do those things, but I think having intentionality about it, and the
Hmm.
one thing I love about it is that for you, people in their 50s should be thinking about it now, right? You don't wait
Hmm.
till you cross into 60, 70 and be like, oh, now what?
Yeah, it's not midlife is midlife is 40. Okay?
There
It's
we
not the
go.
end, it's the
Come on.
spark. What does longevity look like beyond the stereotypes? Especially with black and brown women that thrive, reinvent, and we age so powerfully. No one ever knows your age because it doesn't really matter, you know? Society underestimates the intelligence, the capability, the
That's true.
leadership.
That is true.
There's no, it's biblical if folks go that way. There's no new story. It's just different actors. And the wisdom and comfort of getting older is dismissed. And it shouldn't be. They assume that people work out of obligation, not passion or purpose. People work, not everybody works because they have to. They might do it because they actually love it. They have a sense of purpose, community. Isolation is an ager. You can't isolate an animal but so long and it's going to go nuts. you know,
That's true.
we're social creatures. Doesn't mean that we've got to be around a whole lot of people. I mean, I'm a bit of a solo traveler because interesting when you travel solo, as you well know, you meet more people because they
You
don't
do.
see you
You
pigeonholed.
do.
Yeah, and you keep those relationships, and so there's a lot of things to consider as getting older. People die. Yeah. A matter of fact, there was some show. I forgot the name of the movie, but the punishment God had for this guy was that he would not die, and he basically lived like 300 years or something. So he got to
Isn't
see.
that like the Benjamin Button guy? He wouldn't age. He kept living and
Well, this was worse because he saw people
he just
die.
kept living.
He just kept living. He was alive when
Wow.
Christ was on earth. So everybody he got close to, longed to
They
him.
died.
They died. Right. So he had, but that's a whole nother thing. But, so life goals and all this other stuff. One of the worst things that somebody could say, a matter of fact, a patient said that to me the other day. So when are you retiring? I said, as soon as you start flossing. But anyway, but that's a whole other issue. It's just, it's almost rude. I mean, but I joked it off. I said, it's like asking someone who just got married, when are you going to have children? It's
Oh
really, it's,
man.
it's really a dig, you know,
No, it is a dig. I think a
it's
lot
a
of people
dig.
don't know.
And retirement isn't a deadline, it's a decision. And you make it when you're ready, and no one should make, I mean, there's a dentist who I think is pretty cool. She's, well, I don't think a dentist should be working with. I nobody cares what you think, okay? Because I think I told you, I said, when I finished being the second opinion for things that these young ones keep messing up, So there is no real expiration date. As long as you are physically and cognitively capable of anything that you're doing, then you do it. Older athletes they coach.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Even when they're in their 30s, they're coaching. I mean,
you're
it's that
coaching,
pivot
you're
and that
teaching.
transition. I
Yeah.
think my mantra for life is
Hmm.
after I hit 50 and I knew that there were certain things I just didn't like doing in
Hmm.
business or people that I didn't like being around, I
You
made a
don't have
conscious
to.
decision to only involve those things that I like to do and still been able to make a decent amount of money with it.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it changed my mantra. I got into construction because I was learning and I was blessed to have a amazing mentor like Skanska. But I can tell you within 18 months, I hated it. I hated the
Right.
fact we got paid 4 months late. I hated the fact we spent so much money out. And more importantly, what I hated is that it wasn't our project. At the end of the day, you spend all this money on somebody else's dream and you're not
Mm.
putting your own money towards your own dreams.
Right,
And
right.
you walk away with maybe a small margin. And then when they told me about retainage, I was like, I'm over this. So how do
Mhm.
I pivot and do my own thing and still love the fact that I like to build? And
Right.
that's why the hotel in Ghana is coming along now, because
That's
I took
beautiful.
my marbles to another continent and said, let me play and see if I can do what I need to do and have that confidence that it's owned, designed, and built by me.
Yeah.
And I have that, and I love it, and I would do that 10 times over before I ever will be a general trades or any trades or
Hmm.
carpentry on any job that doesn't really resonate with me.
And that's the badge you've earned with time. So you're
Yeah. So
seen
tell me, we
before.
got to go back a little bit. I want people to know just a little bit about your health journey, right? You had a couple of health scares that, and I don't know if that helped you think about longevity,
Probably.
or how did you pivot? So if you don't mind sharing, I know
Sure, that's no
some,
problem. That's exactly
just
what
as much
happened.
as you're willing to share,
No, no problem.
what
I've
was
got
that
no
journey
secrets.
like?
No, I've got no secrets. The 8 years ago, I survived an aortic dissection. That's what killed John Ritter. Most jobs have stress, mine included, and over time it builds and blood pressure gets out of control, and it's a silent killer. I literally had a 2.5 centimeter tear in the hook, the handle of the aortic
Oh, wow.
dissection. Right. So I was told, I just wasn't. It's not a heart attack. You don't have chest pain. You just don't feel right. That's why intuition is important. So fast forward, EMS was called. They told me to see how I felt in the morning. I would have died in my sleep. So you've
Mm.
got to follow your intuition. It was an 8 hour surgery with two cardiothoracic surgeons. So I had a long haul. I was on Coumadin for a year. So I take heart health very seriously. It's the number one killer of women, not uterine and cervical. All important, very important, but you can live without those things and if you can survive if caught early enough. You can't live without a heart, period. And when I give
Mm.
speech, I always say there's lots of people walking around with no brain, but that's a whole nother story. The reality is that it's people talk about it, but almost losing your life sometimes saves your life. You really get to filter out foolishness. I don't give second chances anymore. If someone gets on I'm done. Because time, my friends, is the only commodity that you don't know the balance. You can make money, you can lose money, but you lose time. That's it. It's not coming back. So
Yes.
I was given last rites, the whole bit. They wanted to know what my religious preference was, and and I don't work on weekends, so they could pick a religion. I didn't really care. So it's a hell of a thing to actually look at a ceiling and you really feel your mortality. It's kind of like, I didn't do any bargaining, just wanted to get to another day. And I just don't waste time. I don't like anybody wasting my time. I try not to waste anybody else's time. And I take issue when folks just say blindly. It's kind of like, well, how much do you weigh? And the next person who asks me, when am I going to retire? I want to know how much do they weigh and what's their and what's.
Yeah, people ask you
It's
some of the
rude.
dumbest questions that it don't make any sense. But to them, I think it's just the fact that I don't think they mean to hurt you or be, they just ignorant to the fact that
Well,
some
and
stuff
that's
just
it. It
never
is.
should be asked.
Yeah, and sometimes you may not. You leave that to people under 10. Certain things you're supposed to know. Like you don't walk up to a woman, "Can I touch your head?" They may not mean to be intrusive, but you are. I'm not a
Well, I
dog.
had that happen to me in London where
Uh-huh.
my natural hair was probably about another 6 inches
Uh-huh.
longer than this, right? And I was in London with Melissa, my COO, and
Uh-huh.
the lady just walked up to me and she held my face. I had never seen this before. Literally grabbed my
Like
face
you're a
and
puppy.
she's like, "Oh my God, your skin is beautiful. Can I touch your hair?" While she's asking, she's already up in it. And I'm freaking out. And Melissa is just dying laughing because she's
Now
like, "What
picture
the hell
someone
is this
doing that to
lady
her.
doing?" But she had totally invaded my space. And I backed up and I said, ma'am, I don't know you. And she's like, "That's okay." I'm like, "No, no, no, it's not okay." And I don't know if this is what you do in
Exactly.
London, but I don't do this in no space where I'm at.
Um,
And so it was that education of telling people, there is a perimeter around me, and I like to keep my personal space clean. And even so now, when you recovered from your journey, right? Your surgery, I know a couple of things. Was you had a weight issue, right?
Yeah.
You had a weight issue. You had it before the surgery, right?
Yeah, I had it before the surgery because I had my knees, I was bone on bone, so I could barely walk anyway.
Mm.
So,
So that puts weight on you
right,
immediately.
exactly. Mobility and just in general. So what happens is 4 years ago I had both knees replaced. I had total knee replacements, and and they were kind of like,
So
well, you
you were
just had.
only what, about 4 years out of your main surgery?
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
And I was
Wow. 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 Wow.
and you're supposed to, the safety zone for anything that serious is about 5 years, but I didn't care. I couldn't live like that. It's interesting how people relate to you. Some people relate to you in a way if you're dependent. They feel like that,
Yeah.
there's a kind of talking down to you. They don't mean it,
Yep.
but they're doing it.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
looking down at you. They always feel like they have to help you. And then when you become your own person, it kind of threatens people. You'd be surprised. Folks very close to you, they kind of like to have you in that kind of, we kind of can know where you are at all times, and you
Well,
can't.
I can be honest with you though, with my father, I actually, as he got older, he passed at 90.
Hmm.
But to see that parental shift from me now being the
Yeah.
parent and him being the child, while he thought it drove him crazy, it gave me a peace to just say, listen, I got to take a little bit more control over what you eat. What
Hmm.
you putting, are you taking your medicine? Are you, and he
Right.
was married, he had a wife, and she was good to him. But at the end of the day, it does shift, right? That parental shift
Hmm.
happens. So you had bone on bone. That means you had to
In
have
pain
both
all the
knees
time.
done at the same time, or you went,
I did it 6 months apart. I did one knee in January. In July, I had the other knee done.
wow.
Right. So
All
that was.
right, so let's talk about, because you look phenomenal. I don't
Mhm.
know how much you lost, but guys, let me tell you, I visited Dr. Beckford probably about 4 months ago, and we're possibly going to be doing a build out for her, right? And
Mhm.
so she brought these jeans. She had like a bunch of clothes she was
A
about to
bunch of
give
boxes.
away. Yeah, and she said, Twyla, let me show you something.
Hmm.
And she pulled up some jeans, and it was like, well, whose are those? And she's like, this was me. And you could have fit two of you
Hmm.
in those jeans.
Yeah.
And her journey, I mean, she looks amazing, and she's
No, I
still on
appreciate it.
her
I'm
weight
still on my
loss
journey.
journey. She
Yeah.
looks absolutely amazing. She didn't show it out at Beyonce, then did the cowboy. I mean, listen, she is doing the
Got the
thing,
dogs
guys. And
back
this is,
like me,
yes, she is
crossing my
living
legs like
her
nothing.
best life. And I'm so glad she's living it in a body that loves and accepts and has accepted her. Her knees
Right.
has accepted her. Her heart is pumping right now. I mean, she's doing some great things in longevity. How long was your weight loss journey? And what was the catalyst
Probably.
of starting it?
Well, I maybe about a year or so. I think it was about a year. I was just tired of being tired, and I was moving. I mean, it was, to be honest with you, it was pretty much unintentional because I can move more. I was not in pain. I can actually walk the dogs. I'm not standing. I have to have an extended leash to walk the dogs like I'm fishing. But I'm just not in pain, and it's a weird. People say, well, I've always been. I consider myself a very good clinician. I'm an excellent clinician now because I know what it's like to be a patient. I know what
Yes.
it's like to have a weight
Yes.
issue. I know what it's like to have a mobility issue. I know what it's like to be in pain. I know what narcissism feels like. I know what the value of real family is. It has nothing to do with DNA. So I've lived all of these, self-abusive, outside abusive. I know what it's like to be an employer. I know what it's like to be an employee. I know what it's like to not, have people that you'll cross oceans for, and they'll barely look at you if it's raining. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been in all of these roles of receiving, not what I felt I deserved. So, when you come so close to dying, at some point you have to start loving yourself. I remember telling a kid who was, I think, believe she was in foster care, and she's telling me her sob story and this, that, and the other. And I told her, I said, I collect dolls. And I gave her one. Just felt like I gave, they had all these limited edition Barbie dolls. And I said, well, I'm giving you this, as I said, because I want you to understand at a certain point you have to parent yourself. Because everybody's not going to love you the way you will love yourself. And I said, you cannot spend 70 years of your life grieving 10 years of your life. I mean, it is what it is. You go and you got to go on because everybody's got a story, some worse than others, granted. But at some point, you're not going to get a second act. This is the only life you're going to have. Whatever you can do in your power to be the mommy that you didn't have to yourself, you got to do it. And that's part of
Yeah.
longevity. You've got
Very
to,
good
I collect dogs
advice.
because I only had one dog. I wasn't in dire poverty, but priorities were different, when I was growing up. It's interesting seeing someone being a grandparent and being so whatever, and I had to take, we won't even go there. But the point is that you can do for yourself what wasn't done for you a lot of times, and a lot of people, especially when they say set in your ways, it's not so much set in your ways. You finally get to the point that you put yourself as a priority. If the only thing is fiscal barriers, if you've got your health, you can work 2 and 3 jobs if you have to, but
There you, oh, look, this a hustle out here.
yeah,
They
you
didn't
got to
made
be
it so
healthy
easy.
though.
You don't have to even leave the house and get a great hustle on.
And you've got to be healthy. You've got to be social of people who bring life to you, doesn't take life from you.
Well,
And
let's stay on that for a minute
sure.
because I think a lot of people don't check. I always tell, and I've told you guys this in your mentorship,
Hmm.
is that you got to look and evaluate your circle quite often. The people
Yes.
around you
Budget.
will set your trajectory or decline
Hmm.
depending on who's around you. And not that you want to be like, when I first started to have some success in business, and I
Hmm.
went back to my streets in Cleveland. They was like, "Oh, you sold out, Twyla," and I was like, "No, I never sold out. I sold up.
Hmm.
I'm still the same Twyla. I just refuse to want to be in the same environment. I refuse.
Come
And
with me,
if
or I
you
gotta leave you
choose,
at the
that's your
stop.
choice. But I
Yeah.
refuse because I
Hmm.
know that there's something better. And
Yeah.
so, talk to me about how you took that, because everybody has that little alter ego that's on that shoulder that's giving you that self doubt, right? I don't know
Hmm.
what you name your self doubter, but everybody has one. And people are
Yeah.
like, "Oh, Twilight, I never see you doubting." Oh, yeah. My mother told me I wouldn't amount to shit. I wouldn't be shit, but broke, pregnant, and on welfare. That was my
Right.
best voice to
Right.
keep me moving.
Right.
But how do you get yourself motivated? How do you look at your friends? And how often do you evaluate your space to see if you got to make some changes?
I gotta make changes. I think I make changes every week, to be honest with you, because
Oh, wow. Okay.
the reality is when you die, no one's getting in the fire or the ground with you. And I don't
Mm.
care how much they care about you, this, that, but all you got is you. Anybody, sure, people talk about heaven and hell and this, but I'm at the age now that I'm an adult orphan. Both parents are gone, grandparents are gone, a couple of uncles are gone, and no one's come back and told me anything. Okay. I ain't heard nothing. Anybody was gonna come back and talk some smack would have been my mother and or grandmother. I ain't heard a word. Okay, so not saying there's not an afterlife, but I'm not gonna wait to find out. Okay, so when it's or when all is said and done, all I got is me. Friendships and relationships go through phases. People who are married 50 years, there's not the same person they were married to when they first got married. They went through phases, just happened to be, they were in congruency when they go through their phases. But people are gonna come and go, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them, but you've changed, and
Yeah.
they don't feel the same needs. And then things that I've learned in time, you can't expect everything from one person, no matter who it is. You can't tell everybody everything, because you don't know every damn thing. You might be running your mouth about how you feel at the moment, and yes, and the next day you forgot about it, but they remember, yeah, you were depressed, girl, and you're gonna kill yourself. So you've got it's an art that I'm still learning. It's a real art to be with yourself, and you'll be surprised how
It
many
is.
people do
It
not.
is.
They can't be with themselves. They can't
Yeah.
trust.
And I
Oh,
think COVID exacerbated a lot of
yeah,
that. It brought out that a lot of people didn't love themselves. I had a
they don't know how
gentleman
to
that
be
I
with
loved to
themselves.
death. There's a guy I love to death, and he told me he didn't love himself. And I said,
Yeah.
"You need to figure what that means again. How do you come and fall back in love with you? Because
Hmm.
until you fall back in love with you, you're not gonna be able to fall in love with nobody else.
Yeah, you
And
really
the other
will.
person that might fall in love with you is going to fall in love with a broken you." So I always think that there is time and reflection. I love meditation. I love Bikram yoga. I love float. If you've never floated, oh my God. Have you
Yeah, in the
floated
water.
before? Have you done float therapy?
No, I just like to float because
Oh
want
no, I
to.
gotta take you to a
I got
float
a big old butt, so I
therapy.
just float.
No, girl, listen, it's only 12 inches of water, and you will literally get into this pod with music or darkness,
Oh,
and
okay.
you will automatically level out, float. You can be 500 pounds, you're gonna whoop right up. I don't swim well, but and I was nervous the first time. One of my girlfriends, she was like, Twyla, we going to do it. I was like,
Oh,
nope,
I
nope,
could do
nope.
that.
And I was like, she was like, yep, yep. It is the best form of meditation. You talking about leaving on the table, leaving in the water. It was absolutely mind blowing.
I could see
Mind
myself because
blowing.
I do swim, but I swim like a beaver. I could swim backwards like all day long. I used to do laps with the phone in my
Oh,
ear,
wow.
and I swim like a beaver. I could back swim like nobody's business. I don't like my face in the
Wow.
water, but yeah. So
Well, that's one of
I
the
would
best
probably enjoy
forms
that.
of exercise. You
Yeah.
got if my dad would swim and do a laps after laps after
Hmm.
laps. And I think that's what got him into the 90. I mean, so but you got to have something, right,
Yeah.
that you can go on. I like
Yeah.
the fact that you said that, you only got one life, right? I
That's
tell people
it.
all the time, I said, if something happens to me, my eulogy is written. I didn't leave not a damn thing on this table. I did
Yeah.
everything I could, anything that I wanted, and the things that I couldn't. It just, I ain't got to them yet because I'm on this on my way,
It's
and I'm
wonderful.
okay with that. I love the fact that I love me. And I think that's what keeps me pushing as an entrepreneur is I love me.
And
I
that's
love me and
probably
I love my concepts and I love how to push. So with longevity, how do you see your programming working? Is
well,
it
I
going to be
see
retreats?
what you just said. When you start to like yourself and you attract like people. People will
Yeah.
like being around you. You're going to automatically sift out folks who are just weights. It's kind of like, like the fat will rise.
Yep.
It is what it is, so so the whole age doesn't determine value. It just doesn't. Experiences do. And so the whole point of it, I wanted there to be a safe, supported community for people over 40. That's kind of what you were asking me, to make longevity practical, not overwhelming, nothing to fear. Most people want to live longer, but a lot of times they feel confused by too much information,
Yeah.
conflicting advice, high
Technology.
cost wellness
Technology.
trends. Yes, trends.
That is scaring the shit out of a lot of people right now is technology.
Yeah, exactly. You want to break down nice lifestyle. That and it's kind of like that ikigai Japanese concept of purpose, that blue zone theory. But in more realistic terms, you want to talk about sleep, nutrition, stress management, health. Not there's a group that I'm going to get out of talking about supposed to be holistic, and they do anything. They'll do anything rather than go to the doctor. I'm like they're kind of giving me the heebie-jeebies. Yeah, but movement, we can learn so much from each other, and a lot of it is because you're in communication. Skincare is different as we get
Yeah.
older. You turn me on to
My God,
turmeric.
yes, it is.
Yeah, midlife reinvention. Sexuality. It doesn't end. You're old, not cold.
You got
And
some
that
isms that's unreal. I
I know,
told
I don't
Dr.
know. This
Beckford, I
comes
just got
up.
to say this.
You never heard it
Dr.
before because
Beckford
I just
has
said
some isms that is
it. Yeah.
so unbelievable. She needs her own TikTok shop with all the like swag that has these
Somebody else
isms
told
because
me
these
that. I said,
isms is
I need to
unreal.
just write them
You're
down and
not
they can put
dead.
in a
You're not cold.
pamphlet.
You're not
Yeah,
unreal.
yeah, but
So
now, actually women in particular, women over 40, reinventing yourself. Cher reinvents herself every day. Why are they hating on her?
listen,
Do you? Do
Cher and
you?
was where Chris Jenner. I mean,
Hmm.
Chris Jenner got a boyfriend that's 40 years younger. Was he 30, 40 years younger? And
There's
you know,
nothing wrong with it. They even what's Halle Berry. They told Cher's mother told her that she need to marry a rich man, and she said, "I am a rich man." So she do you? Yeah. So
do
second half
you? Yeah.
entrepreneurship, beauty, confidence, healthier relationships. You got to get out of that thing. I said something on the Facebook page. I said that these new men, you don't have to be so defensive. Women are strong. I'm not so much that you're strong. It's kind of like when I was in dental school. They said black people's teeth are bigger. No, white people's teeth are smaller. It's all perspective. Women aren't masculine. It might be because you're being feminine. You can't
Ooh,
out strengthen somebody who's already strong.
there you go.
It is what it is. Only weak people want to be around somebody weaker. If you've got to play both roles, it's because somebody else isn't playing the other role. It's all fine and dandy, but you know,
Well, why you just said a key point, and I want to drill on this a little bit.
sure.
Talk about dating. Talk about, because I'm single. I'm a
I,
single
I
woman.
I did an excellent podcast, and if it didn't tape, so we're going to do it again. I did an interview with somebody who was talking about, and we had a lovely conversation about dating older. And I told her there are certain things. There was something about being a nurse or a purse. I said the new male wants a submissive supporter, fiscal, a benefactor. So be docile, but act like you ain't pulling most of the weight. You can't have it both ways. So she was saying that the interesting thing is sometimes, especially if you're in a position of power, when you date as a female, it is not a job interview. You do not have to give folks your material accolades. That's the time that you should be allowed to be feminine. Feminine meaning in that you're just bringing yourself, not your assets. Okay? Men in particular, they don't necessarily have to bring their assets, but if they want to be the provider, that's part of providing. You can bring your assets, but you also need to bring your personality, because if your personality ain't all that, guess what? Miss Thing got assets too. Don't get it twisted. So that's
Well, I
one
think,
thing.
have you heard of the soft generation, the people who want the soft life? Have you heard of soft
Yeah,
life?
millennials.
Okay. Because I just heard, look, I just got schooled this week about it. Because a friend
Yeah.
of mine called me and she wanted me to be on a podcast about soft life. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, what the hell is
You
soft
talking
life?
about
So
the
I
women
Googled
being in
it.
the soft life?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I've heard, and I concur with it, because especially women of color, is almost expected that they're the most degreed, they're the most educated, they're the ones holding things down. They're holding. I mean, look at who was the Secretary of State for Bush, a black woman, Condoleezza Rice.
Condoleezza.
We were just roll. We could just handle everything. We could be the Secretary of Defense. We could do this. We could do that. The soft life basically means we can be the daughters of the American Revolution. You don't necessarily have to be. We can be housewives, and we can do whatever, but we're educated housewives this time go around. We don't
Yeah, we
have.
got a totally different acumen though. We bring a lot of a more well-rounded blend that maybe didn't exist before.
Well,
And the part with the millennials on the soft life is them literally wanting it now.
no
They want to
consequence.
play
Yeah.
that feminine role. They want the man to shower them with everything. And I try to tell people, well, what does that give you when they walk away?
Well, okay. I
Because
give
a
an
lot of us
example.
don't understand the
Well, this is
breakup. They
well,
don't
this is
understand that piece.
right. Well, this is my idea of a soft life. For example, see Eve, right, the one who married that guy from some
Oh
European
yeah,
somebody.
she living the life.
Right. But Eve, he's not a billionaire, he's a multimillionaire, okay? His supposedly, according to the internet, Eve is worth 75 million. He is worth 150 million. She can have a soft life. She don't have to use her resources. Together they're fine. Janet Jackson had the soft life until it turned out he was an abusive maniac. But she can come back and she's good. So you can have the soft life, but you've got to have insurance. You can have a nice Lamborghini.
I love that. You got to have the insurance. Yeah,
You got to
exactly.
have the insurance so you can
And
have
that's the thing. A lot of us have given away our insurance, meaning our skill.
our power.
Part of your insurance is Janet Jackson still can get up on the stage and do a performance.
And she
So can
already
Eve.
and she's good. She's not. She's
And so can Eve. Eve can bring down a house and tear it up,
she was
So
just she was
at the
just on
end of
Sunday.
the day, they
Yep.
still brought skills that they might have put dormant to have families and kids. Like I
Sure.
love Rihanna. She has a great business acumen in the sense Rihanna on purpose stopped her recording life
Exactly.
to start doing the beauty, the makeup, and then
She
now
can do
she's got
whatever
the
she.
mom life. And she will come back around to the music life because she always is gonna have that thing. But keep in mind, you still got Fenty and Fenty Savage and all this other stuff that's doing what she's doing. And so I love the fact that that is
She could be a
happening. And
girl.
I think longevity also needs to look at who is what's the experiences, right? You want
Yeah.
to have.
Right.
I
Exactly.
cannot date anyone that doesn't have the energy or the mindset of experiences.
And
You
that's
see what
what,
I'm saying?
right.
I don't need gifts. I need
Exactly.
experiences. I want the
Exactly.
journeys. I want the trip that's going to create the wow.
Memories.
Did you remember that time?
Exactly. And that's the soft life, because when we talked about on the podcast that I did with the dating expert, I said, well, okay, so when dating older, the reality is that everybody's health is not going to be pristine. And she goes, that's right. Absolutely.
It's true.
Health may not be pristine, but what are you doing about it? You know,
Yeah.
sure, my health, I went to the doctor. My knees weren't, well, I got my knee replacements. Okay.
Right.
So it's, I'm not, and for
Well, you're taking
anything,
action. You're taking
you
action to
do
be more
something about it.
productive.
You're not just laying around like, I'm a veteran. Somebody come change my Foley bag. Come on now. Nobody wants you. You don't even want you. They tell me all the time there's patients that come in here younger than me, look older than me, because they just don't care. You just
Yeah, no, in Africa, I've seen some people that look so much older than what they are. And I think a lot of it has to do with how we maintain our
Mhm.
inner selves.
Or how you feel
I
about yourself.
enjoy my inner peace. People laugh at me and go, Twyla, you actually meditate? I do. I had to
Sure.
learn it. I thought it was BS. Give me 10 years ago, I thought it was a bunch of BS. But I'm gonna tell you, through some of the tough times, some of the death of my father, and dealing with my mother's situation stuff, sitting quiet and sitting still did amazing things.
It
It
made you
brought new
communicate with
ideas,
yourself.
creativity, new business ventures. It just brought so much clarity. And now I do it every year. I meditate throughout the year, but December is my time of clarity. December month is when I try to not
That's your
have
new
too much
year.
on my calendar. I try to make sure I get my mentorship in, talking to you guys, mentoring you guys. That
Hmm.
feeds my soul.
Yeah.
That's part of my feeding of my soul to energize me for the next year. And people are like, isn't it exhausting? No, when you do something you like
Hmm.
and you love, it doesn't become a job.
Excellent.
It
That's
becomes
purpose.
something beautiful. Yeah,
That's
it's
your purpose.
purposeful.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
it
tell
is.
me what you got in store for 2026 for longevity. What can
Well, we
we
want to
look forward to?
do a couple of retreats. First, I think I might want to start with similar to the dinner that you're hosting next month
Hmm.
in January by invite only. I think I might start with doing some dinners that's by
That
invitation
would be
only.
cool. That would be great.
And that's a great way to get some input as far as doing trips, because we talked about Sonoma and places that people can bring their, and do something out of the box. I like the new commercials. I think there was one for was for Amazon, believe it or not. And it was three, I don't know if you've seen it, was three older women. They looked like they were probably in their 70s or probably in their 80s. They're sitting on a park bench and they're watching these.
Yeah, yes.
I love that commercial. I love
That's
it.
a beautiful
I
commercial.
love it. They ordered the Amazon things and they just adapted
And
it
they
for
went
their belly button,
sledding. They went
and
skiing
they
and
were having
sledding.
a blast. That's what,
Yeah.
and that's some that's a perfect example of longevity circle. Is that what determines when you to be someone's too old to be relevant. You should be slowing down. You look old. You're past your youthful stage.
Yeah, it's amazing how they want to put you out to pasture. I mean, and I'd rather die doing what I love. You
Exactly.
know?
That dance, do whatever.
Yes.
Socialize. I socialize when I want to. It's kind of like I don't necessarily have to be around people 24/7. But I'm not alone, because we're both pet lovers and stuff. But come out when you're ready and you're prepared. And if I want to have eggs for dinner, if I want to have steak for breakfast, I eat what I want. But and my stomach tells me when I'm full, not my head.
Yeah,
So
as you were telling, you and I had talked about the weight loss and the weight
mhm.
loss journey. And for me, I was just celebrating 6 pounds down a couple of weeks ago. And then when they told me I got another six, but mine was really getting on hormones.
Yeah.
Had a hysterectomy in 2019 and I thought I was good. And I didn't really think they kind of gave me that sense that you'll be all right. We're going to leave a little bit in there. I forgot what the fallopian tubes, whatever. So
Hmm.
you don't have to worry about going into menopause. That was a lie. Because
Hmm.
immediately after my uterus was removed, all hell in my body went crazy.
Yeah, cortisol.
And so I just went on to hormone. I'm literally on the first month, last week of the first month
Hmm.
of And I don't have the night sweats. I can sleep for the first time in years, 7 hours straight.
Wow, that's good.
In years. I mean, and I tossed and turned. Eyes look jaundiced, wake up exhausted, bones aching. I mean, it was just nipples on fire. I mean, it's just,
Mm-hmm.
you name it, I had every probably symptom
Mm-hmm.
that menopause had. And finally, after going to see a girlfriend in Cali, thank you, Robin, she was like, Twyla, you got to try it.
Yeah.
And I did, and it has made a world of difference. I was just telling one of my girlfriends that came, I said, you got to do it. She's like, let me figure out what your patch is. Yeah, just go talk to
Right.
someone that can help, because it started to my weight loss journey back. I mean, now my body is a lot more receptive of losing weight because it was not going anywhere. I had
Exactly.
the thyroid issue. Nothing was moving. Nothing.
Yeah,
It was
it
so
is.
defeating to look at the scale. I was like, the hell with you, scale. I was
And you
like,
probably do
I
it, and you're probably doing more emotional eating because if
oh,
you're
you were
hungry, you're
depressed as
hungry.
hell.
Yeah,
I was depressed. I
yeah,
went on about 3 months, maybe about 6 months ago, before I broke my leg. I walked for 12 days, 4 miles straight. I did not lose 1 pound, not one
yeah.
pound. And it was so defeating. And finally, the doctor was like, well, your body is just kind of different now. But as soon as I got on those hormones, listen, baby, it was the truth. And it's nothing but if ladies, if it's just like that little pack they give you a birth control with the little 4 lines and you take this little tiny pill. I don't know what's in this little ass tiny pill, but whatever's in it, it worked.
Well, we're living longer. We can't rely on things like we in the Middle Ages. We're not going to get hit by a Tyrannosaurus. And we're living longer, so there's things that we have to adapt to living longer. You know, the average people, everybody died at 50. Well, we're living to be 80 and 90. You know, this industrial age, you've got to do what you got to do. You know, you got to brush
Yeah,
your teeth, you got to floss, you got to take your hormones.
true,
And for
true.
them folks doing the freaky deek, the fact that you're not getting pregnant doesn't mean you ain't gonna get sores and stuff, you know. So you need to handle your business, wrap it up. I don't care if you're 99, you know.
Well,
You've
I
got
think one of the highest rates of HIV was in 55 and over.
because they figure
Yeah.
pregnancy is not your biggest fear, you know.
Yeah,
Death
it
is,
was
you know.
55 and over, and I was shocked. And not necessarily shocked, because here's the thing that I know, men, listen up. You
Mhm.
need the longevity circle. And the reason you need it is because when you're turning to a 20-year-old and a 50, 60-year-old man is turning to a 20 and 30 something, those women, you know,
They're not that
they
cute. Don't get
outside. I love
twisted.
Cardi B, but they outside and they
They are
doing
not
their
that cute.
thing.
If you
And if
think
you
it's
want
your
to be
look,
that sugar papa, that's cool. Sugar daddy, that's cool. But what you are in store for, my friend had it happen. He retired
hmm
54, 55, and got now a baby at 58.
yeah,
And
she
I
didn't
think it's
do
like
good.
crazy.
Yeah,
Absolutely
she
crazy
got you to your
that you
78.
waited all this time and then has a oops. It makes no sense. So listen up, get into the longevity circle and be around like-minded people. That's why I started the Impact League, because
hmm
I knew entrepreneurs was not in the right room with other entrepreneurs that really wanted to hustle and do their shit. Not everybody thinks they're an entrepreneur, but you're not. And so, you need to be in rooms with people who are busting their ass just as much as you are, and you're going to see fruits of your labor.
And it's
And
not
if you're in the
diluted.
right room, they give you guidance to make sure you do it right so you don't have to come out of the gate again the wrong way.
Exactly, exactly. You couldn't have said it better. Yeah, you've got to, if you're coming in for the second act, there ain't but so many acts to this play. Don't get it twisted. You know
That's right.
what I'm saying?
Intermission is fast and second act is faster.
Mm-hmm. Because going downhill ain't no joke. Remember them old ladies?
Yes.
They were flying. Having a
I
good time.
absolutely love that commercial
I do,
because
I
I
really
see
do.
myself in that. And see, that's the good thing about the longevity circle. If you see yourself on a sled at 60 plus, sliding down a hill, you know you got the right mindset.
And
That is
going to a
absolutely
cowboy
brilliant.
line dancing and cowboy
Yes.
and get your buckle and stuff. Enjoy
Listen, I
yourself,
have to
though.
shout out Ron Rollison. His mother
hmm
in New Jersey is 103.
Wow, wonderful.
But let me say this, and this is no shit. She lives alone. She is 103. She lives alone. She has every bit of her faculty. She just shot
Woo.
last year a Centurion commercial. She's on the national commercial. You know that
Wonderful.
commercial that interviews about 5 to 10 seniors and asks
Yeah,
them
yeah,
what
yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
want? She's in it. And
Okay,
she
cool.
asked, one of the guys asked for a girlfriend. And
Mhm.
she was like, I want to have my own man. I mean, it just, she is all that in a bag. She will be celebrating in March, I believe March 1. She will be 104.
She's
And
old,
this
not
woman
cold.
is a
Enjoy
godsend.
yourself.
She is celebrating birthdays of 88-year-old daughter, 80-some-year-old daughter, and a
Isn't that
74-year-old
amazing?
son.
Well,
You need to interview her on
I
your
would love
longevity
to.
podcast.
I would love to. Yeah.
I will make sure that make that happen. Ron's mom is the absolute gem,
And
and
what's so
she will
cool is,
drop nuggets. She tell you in a minute, you gotta live, baby. You
yeah.
gotta live. You gotta have and it ain't really about just clean life. She pops some champagne and she has some great times, but she's got an amazing, amazing tale.
And I love those stories because, it's when I tell these young folks, a lot of times there's a reason why you get along better with your grandparents, because the nature of things is the parents is supposed to make things uncomfortable so you will leave. It's even in the wild kingdom, they kick them out of the nest,
Mm.
But the grandparents, they don't have, as like a good aunt, they don't have, there's no competition. They will tell you, any dating advice. I got the best dating advice from my grandmother. She was long before Steve Harvey. 3 months, girl. Don't let them touch you before then. She'll tell you. Right. But, and she would tell me all kinds of things about my grandma. I was like, thank you. That's too much information. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. But there is a reason to have that conversation with older people, because they're going to tell you what's right. You don't see them as, you're not in competition for space. There's only one woman per household, and if there's a mother there, it's the mother. The grandmother is just like the big aunt that you can confide in. So there's that confiding of the extended generation is lost. They're not having conversations with. They're just throwing them in nursing homes and making them disposable. So
No,
there's a
you're
lot of wisdom.
absolutely
I would
spot
love to
on.
talk to her. Shoot,
Yeah,
I
oh
love.
no, I'll set it up. I'll make sure Ron and them set up the Zoom and
Mm-hmm.
everything for her so she can, because she is, and I have no doubt that she will turn 104 and be
That's
at a party.
wonderful.
I'm telling you, she throws a party every year. 104, she on the dance floor. I mean, it's unreal.
But think of the fashion tips she could give you, because everything is cyclical.
Yes,
Think
yes.
of the
Oh, she's
think of the
styling with blinged out. I will
oh
make sure, guys, when we air this, I want to make sure I add her picture inside so you can see, and I'll make the
yeah.
introduction. You
Think
let me know when you do your podcast,
Sure. Think
and
of the
I will
jewelry
make
that she
sure
was
to get
wearing in
her
the
set
20s.
up in New Jersey to be on it.
Oh,
Because
I would love it.
the
But I mean,
longevity circle, she is the icon of she's the oldest person I know in my relationship of relationships. And I was praying that my dad got to 100, but he passed at 90. But
mhm.
look, I look at her every year, and they're 4 days apart. My dad was March 4th and she's March 1. But it was absolutely amazing to see how she has just lived an amazing life,
But
and
think of
and
the
and, and multi battles of cancer, everything.
oh
She
yeah,
done
yeah,
had
yeah.
all
She's
kind
a
of craziness,
survivor.
and still living and
That's
thriving
wonderful.
and thriving.
Yeah, I love
So
I love those stories.
I can see. Are you looking to do maybe a longevity cruise?
To do something like that. If I did, it would be with Virgin. I already know, because I
Okay.
was on Virgin, their cruise once, and obviously they're pet friendly. They're not children friendly, so you have to be over 18 to be on a Virgin cruise. So that stops that right off the bat. I had my first and only tattoo on a Virgin cruise. So they're very,
Really?
yeah. I did that on the cruise. Yeah. So the thing about Virgin, well, just think about Braniff. His whole thing,
Oh, I
unfortunately,
love Branson.
yeah, his wife
Branson
just
is a
passed. I think
great
they were together
mindset.
50 years. Yeah, so his whole life thing of he's a longevity guy. He's like in his 80s or 70s, and he's surfing. I think when Obama left office, they all were down in the Caribbean doing all whatever. So it's very, to me, it's, I think the whole thought process of longevity kind of coincides with that whole Virgin brand.
Well, I know you have your travel agency coming, so I'm sure you're going to be putting together something. You
Yeah,
guys, let's bring her back to talk about it. Because I
yeah,
would love to make sure we can get a great group to go with you the first time around. I think
that would
that'll
be
be
great.
amazing.
Yeah, and it's all about, it's about quality of life, quality of food, eat with purpose, play with purpose, have a good time, feel the sun. Sometimes it takes time to just slow down, like how you say with the meditation, I've got some land, and sometimes you have to stop and just kind of say, you're done good. Look at the trees.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
my
I think
food.
you got to supply. If you can't pat yourself on the back, nobody else is.
Yeah, you got
And
to
that's the one
sometimes.
thing that I think you have to learn. I had to learn it is celebrate you.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have milestones in every one of my business and personal lives. And when I make that milestone, there is a celebration that I
Good.
build in. It might be a cruise. It might be a gift. It might just be that I want to, go get a makeover or,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
whatever. But at the end of the day, there's something to acknowledge that job well done, Twyla. Job well done. And
Yeah,
keep up the good spirit. You got to pat yourself on the back.
you got to.
You got to be
You
your
gotta
own
hug yourself.
cheerleader.
I know
You
my
got to be.
body.
I love me, girls. Look, I'm loving on me.
You gotta love
And
on yourself, man. Take the bubble bath.
oh, girl, yes,
Do the
yes.
body scrubs. You treat yourself well. Spa
And
days for
men, this
guys
is for
too.
you too,
Yeah,
guys. This is for you
guys
too.
need to do facials and celebrate the skin that you're in.
I love
And
that. Celebrate the skin that you're in. Dr. Bedford, this has been amazing. I'm glad we've had the chance to talk about
okay.
longevity. I definitely want to get you back. We want to give you the opportunity each time we have a podcast. Let's put some of your commercials in from sleep apnea. You also got the implants, and then let's talk about longevity because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people every quarter they don't know
Hmm.
and they don't know where to go. And every quarter it seems to be a stop. Everybody's ramping up now about their what's my resolution? What's my New Year's resolution? I don't
Right.
believe in resolutions. I
Mm-mm.
believe in doing something the whole year to get to a goal, not to just do something where you're going to fail in the first 90 days or
I
3
think
months.
more instead of a New Year's resolution, just look back at the year of all the things you were thankful for and extend it to the Thanksgiving. Meaning that
There you
what
go.
did I do right and what will I pivot for the new year?
There you go. There you go.
I've done this right. Let me keep doing this. Let's get rid of that. But instead of like these
Mm,
lofty goals, like say everybody wants to lose weight. Well, let me see how I can feel better about what I'm eating. See, this is the thing. Tupperware should make every diet easy because the food ain't going nowhere. When you're full, be done and eat it later.
That's true.
Because when I was
I
raising my
told you I
son,
love her isms. They
yeah,
come
I
out of
wasn't
nowhere.
big on
They unreal.
forcing him to eat. Forcing him to eat what? Just put it in Tupperware. You can eat it later. It's not that deep. An uncle by marriage, he would say that, we've got to live to eat, not, no, we eat to live, not live to eat. So
Correct.
I'm not eating stuff. If it don't taste good, I ain't eating it. It's not
Well,
that
and
deep.
I tell you, I love to cook. And I had to learn that being single, even when I'm dating,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you also got to make sure the people you're dating has got a healthier lifestyle as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't, so I look for people that I'm going to date or I'm going to spend my time with that has a healthier mantra about how
Exactly.
they're living.
Right.
Because if you date somebody that's 400 pounds, I don't give a damn what you do. You're going to end up gaining some
Yeah.
weight.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll always pivot, even as an employer. You cannot have a toxic person that you want to make the good people
That's true.
toxic. The good people are not going to turn the toxic person around. So,
No, they're going to become
I
toxic
will
as
cut
well.
that. I will cut that thing so damn fast, which you knew I did recently. I cut it fast, fast. Because whenever
Yeah,
you
no,
cut
I
it,
do
you can't
too.
let
I
it grow.
fire quick and I hire slow.
Not like it's been nice. I appreciate you. Go kill somebody else. Goodbye. Yeah, but I can't do it. So, but yeah, you've got
So
to be aligned with people that will make you
yes,
better.
yes,
You know,
yeah, and I
I
think
cannot.
that's the best way 2026 resolutions should be looked at.
Yeah,
Any last words? How do they find you? Where is your? You have like a LinkedIn page or a
I have a LinkedIn page, which is my
face?
name. I have a LinkedIn page. I have another website that's Dr. Yvonne Beckford, has my whole name spelled out, and that's more for longevity. We have
Okay, Dr. Yvonne Beckford,
right.com.
and that's
That's the
Dr. Right? They
longevity.
got Dr.
Right, always. And then I also have the longevity circle, which we started. That's a Facebook group that's anybody can join. I haven't put any restrictions on there unless you're some sort of freak. I will block you. But other than that, anybody, if anybody wants, somebody said that send me pictures, so I sent them pictures of the dog. There you go. Anyway, but don't be weird.
So you have a LinkedIn page and you have
I
a
do
Facebook
have a
page.
professional LinkedIn page. It has nothing to do with longevity, but we do have a Facebook longevity, the longevity circle, the
The
longevity circle.
Longevity Circle. And that's
Right,
so,
that's on
guys, go
Facebook.
to Facebook, type in the Longevity Circle, and like and share and join.
Yeah,
Because
join and
this is where you're going to be posting your ads. This is where you're going to be posting your
right,
cruises and events. I
and we
can't
want to
wait till
learn
your
from
first
each
cruise.
other.
She's going to be planning it, guys. She's going to be advertising inside the Impact League. We'll definitely bring her back to talk about some of her event schedules for 2026. I will see her in Ottawa in February. On February 7th, we have our Ottawa Summit, which is a business summit. It's open to all US and Canadian businesses, but it's going to be a great way. We're going to be like those people in that commercial with some sleds, probably sliding down a hill
We're
in some
fake first
snow.
friendly.
Yeah. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah,
Great time. Well, Dr.
absolutely.
Bedford, thank you so much for everything you've done. Thank you for
Okay.
being who you are. And
Namaste.
thank you for thinking about our second act and getting us into the mindset of being prepared for that
Yeah,
great transition.
I appreciate you too. Thank you
All
so much.
right. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.
There is no way in hell I could pay $50,000 just to hear somebody tell me things are going to get better. Come up with a plan. Here's a template. No way. No way. We're the Impact League. We're coming after you. We're coming for you. If you're in business and you're serious about your craft, relinquish all those other memberships and get into the league.